This conference will now be recorded.
Post it on YouTube and okay. Hi everyone, welcome to the OpenSpecimen webinar on what's new in v8.1. This is something new that we are doing this kind of webinar, and we thought, especially given that there are some interesting features in 8.1 that would be useful for everyone. We thought, why not do a webinar on this? And also, we also plan to cover some of the older features which we are interesting, maybe useful, but it's not always visible or evident when we release new features to everyone, because there are so many things, you might not see all of them. So we will just at the end recap some of the popular features, some of the not so popular but interesting features. Okay. So the meeting will be recorded. Feel free to ask me questions anytime or at the end, whichever way. I'm not monitoring the chat window, so if you put something in the chat, I'll be able to get to it at the end. So v 8.1 is released, and the one of the main features. These are some of the important new features. I'll be going through them one by one. One of the major enhancement is support for data entry by clinical coordinators. So right now, all roles pretty much work the same way, in the sense that there's because the clinic coordinators do a lot less work because they're just collecting the samples, they're not really processing and things like that. So if you have staff who are just going to do that much, there are some new features that will help you configure them to just do that much and not do anything else in the system and things like that. Receiving specimens again is linked to the clinic coordinator stuff, so I'll come back to that later. User groups, color coding, printing PDFs on collection, distribution, and shipments, etc., are some of the major new features. So let me go one by one, and I also highlighted, from where we got the feedback. Some of the feedbacks are also, overlapped with others. There are many others also who would have, over the period of time, given the same feedback. So I apologize if I missed somebody's name or the center's name. Let me start with collection workflow for clinic coordinators. So what is a coordinator workflow? They register participants, and maybe there are some forms. Some of this is optional, obviously. So they might have forms or questionnaires that they collect, consents that they collect, and collect the primary specimens. Now it might also happen that you got staff who are just doing the registering the participant and collecting consent, and some people who are in the clinic and standing in front of the patients and just doing that much, versus this could be further broken down into smaller roles, so you can do such kinds of things too. But this is the workflow that we focused on in this particular feature, where they can go until collecting primary specimens and then be done with it, so they're not bothered about aliquot, storage location, etc., etc. So the goal here was to configure the roles based on real world scenario. That is, how a coordinator works in the real world. You should be able to configure the role and the system based on that. Now this is a sample coordinator role. So you see here that one is, you see that the in before 8.1, all specimens were grouped into a single role. So there was primary specimen, and then not really before 8.1. I think we did this in 8.0 before, where we had already broken down into the specimens into primary specimens and all specimens. So what this means is that now they can only collect the parent specimens, and not, they can only see the primary specimens and not other specimens. You see here that they have read, write, etc., access on the primary specimens. So they won't even be seeing the aliquots in the system. And they have shipping and tracking. Again, this is a sample role, so you don't need to have this. If at all it is an off-site location and they need to ship the specimens to the collection center, etc. So you can additionally give them shipping and tracking. Same way, consents you can give if you're collecting consents. So this is at a very high level, what they would be doing. Again, you can add or remove things that you don't want to give. And let me show the what is this now. So I'm going to go into a sample protocol. I hope you are able to see my screen. If not, let me know. So now in this particular workflow, you see the register participant goes into a different screen from what you would be used to see. Again, this is a workflow where you can register multiple participants in one go rather than one participant. Again, so the goal is that highly focused on clinic coordinators. They collected data for 2 participants. Now they want to come and collect the data for them. The goal is to reduce the number of clicks as much as possible, so that they are able to finish their work quickly. So let me just do this. So now when I say proceed, what happens is that now I'm directly taken to a page where I can select which visit am I which event am I collecting specimens for, for webinar 1 user. So this is the first user I'm collecting. You see here that it is webinar 01. Now you see here that in this we have configured it in a way where you don't see any of the aliquots here. So you see only the child specimen. You see the collector and the collection date. So now typically you would see the collector and the collection date at the top here, which is common for all the specimens. But in your workflow, if you want to have different option to have different dates, or rather usually the dates are same, it's more the time that would be different. So you can do that. So I can say collected, and I'll for this patient I'll just do submit, and in the next case I'll do submit and print and submit. So you see here now I'm done with the patient 1. Now I'm doing the patient 2. Again, you see here webinar 2 dot this one, and I can go again for baseline, and I can select one as this one, the other as missed. So and then if I want, I can have a different collection time for this. Suppose it was collected an hour earlier, and this time I'll do a submit and print. I'll be I'm just covering one other feature here too. So the option here is to configure a PDF. When you collect, if you want to do a specimen drop off PDF, where the list of specimens that are collected are listed here. This is the missed specimen. Now this PDF, you see it has the OpenSpecimen logo and things like that, and maybe you would not want, you might want your own center's logo here. You might want a completely different table here of can everyone mute their mic, please? So yeah, so you see that there are once I share, it's hard to get the list. Anyway, I'll keep going. So this, whatever you see, the content here is highly configurable. So every protocol can have, you can design your own PDFs, and if you don't want to do it, you can just do submit and continue. So you don't need to you don't need to even configure that. So everything that you see here is optional, so to say, but this allows you to now create a collection drop-off PDF that you can print, that your coordinators can print and submit it with the, and as you see, it can have barcodes. These barcodes can also be present in these tables. And one of the interesting features that is that this one barcode can have labels for all the specimens in this shipment. So it will, if you scan this one barcode, you'll get a comma separated list of all the labels. So that way, again, imagine you are now the lab staff who got the drop off. Now you are trying to accession, inventory those specimens. All you do is one scan and you get all the barcodes in one go. So you don't need to manually look at each specimen and things like that. So that is something that you can do. And just to show you a variety, just to show that this is a different PDF, but you see that the table is completely different. So I'm just proving the point that you can have your own templates and you can configure on your own, as long as you're ready to get your hands dirty with a bit of HTML and JSON kind of configurations. And so that is the coordinator workflow, or the first enhancement. And you also see, related to this is that you want the you don't want to show things like, say, storage container to the coordinators, because they are not going to place the specimens in a freezer, right? So again, you see here that now as a coordinator, when I am within the system, and if I click on oh my, okay, so I am just a second. Okay, so when I am inside the say a specimen page, and any page can be configured for that matter, you see that you don't see the container details. Even if I go to the edit, you don't see the container details. That's because we have configured it in such a way that the coordinators cannot see the containers. Now similarly, you can hide fields in the participant page. For example, if the coordinators are not adding details of, say, the PHI details, or whatever MRN details or whatever, you can also decide to have a different view in the participant page or the visit page for the coordinators. So again, the goal here is that make the screens as less populated and as as focused as possible for those users, so that they don't see additional things and or do wrong data entry or waste their time in the wrong places. Once the coordinators drop the specimens off, now the lab staff have to now receive those specimens. So now how do they do the receive of these specimens in bulk, or so now I'll go to my admin role, or the lab staff role. So now you see here there is a new option for receive. So when I click on receive, now if you can imagine that you have these barcodes that you have embedded, or these labels that you want to manually copy paste. So either ways, you can come here, scan all those specimens, and go to the next step and receive all those specimens in one go. So the goal here is you don't have to do one specimen at a time, go to each specimen's page and mark that specimen as received. you can just do it in bulk, and the lab staff can then worry about their aliquoting process, or storing inventory, etc., etc. Yeah, so this is and this works only for the primary specimens, because obviously primary specimens are the only one which has the receive option or the receive event attached with it. So that's pretty much what I just displayed. One of the features that was asked by many was a single field which kind of shows whether the specimen is, because a specimen could be distributed, specimen's quantity could be zero, or things like that. So now, to be able to make the query interface easy, or be able to query just based on one field whether the specimen is available or not, there should be an option to do that. So it's based on the activity status, the collection status. If the specimen is already disposed, closed, etc., the flag will automatically get changed to not available. And in addition, you see that there is an option for available. It is not only displayed in the query interface, it is also displayed in the specimen list view, etc. And you see that there is a color coding available here. It shows whether the specimen is available or disposed or distributed, things like that. And let me show you an actual version of that. For example, if I'm in the specimen list view, oh, that needs to be configured, I think. Yeah, so I don't have a CP here for that. Yeah, so you see here, it can come with the color coding, as well as you can query for those specimens based on that. So that is the specimen availability field, and this is also available in the query interface, where when you're creating your queries, you can just say, is the specimen available? To only suppose you're creating a catalog, or searching for specimens within using just one field, you can filter out specimens that are available. So this was the feature that I was already showing. So now let me show it to you in a bit detail. So now suppose I am in the participant page. Go back to my protocol. Now the print option is given on to print a manifest, you need to go to the Widgets page. So you see here that there's a new button called specimens manifest. So either you can print it when you're actually collecting the specimens itself. If you remember, you saw the button submit and print. So that is if you want to print right when you're collecting the specimens, or you can come back later and also print for a visit. You can, when you click on it, it will generate the same PDF with whatever configuration that you have done for these specimens. So some of these are blank because the rest of the specimens are not collected, so it does not have a label yet. You can also configure it in such a way that it is printing only the collected specimens, it is printing only the primary specimens, it is printing primary and aliquot. Any kind of detail that is available on the screen, or rather any field of the specimen, visit, participant, etc., can be included in the manifest. Now this feature is also available in the orders also. When you're distributing the specimens, now same way you can print the order manifest, so that you can give it to the receiver, or to the researcher, whoever is getting those specimens. Again, you can configure a manifest saying, okay, how many specimens are there, which protocol did it come from, what is the label, what is the quantity, etc., etc. It's again up to you. You can you can decide what is the content of this. The system comes with the default manifest, but you can configure it the way you want, as per the local needs. And this is also available in the shipping module. I'll skip the shipping module because it's not that widely used for to save some time. So, and as I said, the most important thing here is the configurability. So you can edit it the way you want. You need to know a bit of HTML or JSON to configure that, but so it is a bit IT related job, but but the important thing is it's very highly configurable. Just these screenshots of the same things. Some of the administrative features. Let's see, the container map looks cooler now. Let me see. Actually, this is a screenshot. So one of the things that many people kept saying is that the container map is, you don't really see whether it has DNA or RNA. You just see the labels and strings. There is no way to, there's no icons in it or things like that. So instead of, when you use things like icon, etc., so the page becomes heavy and loading becomes heavy. So instead we decided to do color coding. Like example. Oh, okay, fingers crossed. No. So this doesn't. So yeah. So here you see. So you see that you can color code, as well as there's an option here to see the color coding. Say to, if you're not familiar, if it is new user, or if, since it's a new feature, just to see. And the color coding can also be changed in the drop down manager. So you can go to the drop down manager, and there is an option there where you can say which specimen type should have which color. For example, if there is a favorite color of yours that you want to assign to a DNA, or if there is an industry norm, etc., you can do that. You can set it up. It's across the system configuration. So but you can change the color, and the end users can click on this to see kind of a legend of which specimen as which specimen type. So this is basically specimen type. So the pink probably is DNA and or serum, since it is yes, and something else is DNA, etc., etc. So tissues can be greenish color and things like that. So you can decide the color combinations. The system again comes with some default coloring, and you can change it if you want. Another major feature is the user group. So right now, until now, you could just create users, but not groups of users. So now creating user groups, you can have you can create user groups and then assign them. Right now, we support the use of user groups in say print rules, sharing cards and sharing queries, etc. In future, we plan to extend it to other things. For example, assigning a role within a protocol. Instead of assigning it to individual user, you can assign it to the collection to a group. The advantage here is that, if someone moves or someone leaves or someone is on vacation, you don't need to go and remove the user from every place. You just remove it from the user group, and then it automatically gets reflected across the system. And the way to do user groups would be, you see now there is a new button here for user groups. You can go here, look at the existing user groups. It shows the number of users here, description, etc. You can go there and or add users here or remove users from here. the an user group can have only users from one institute. So you can't have users across institute within one group. So that is one limitation because of the way the system works. So once you add one user of one group of one institute, then all other users have to be from the same institute. Some enhancements in the custom forms. These are not brand new features. Rather, the first one is a kind of a new feature. The others are more of enhancements, moving fields within the same line, etc. So, for example, if I go to the forms and open the forms. Oh, sorry. Let me first show the. So you see here there is a new button called option here called revisions. So this is to get the older versions of this form. So if you when I click on this, it will show me how many times the form has been edited. For example, someone added a new field, removed a new field, or made some edits. And you can also download the that version of the form. Suppose if you want to restore it back or want to see what was the difference and what went wrong, if how did a particular field disappear, right? So things like that you can check. And you can also see a preview of that version just to make sure that probably this form does not have anything. But you can also see the preview of the version of the form to see so that you can actually compare two forms right in the screen, uh, etc. So this kind of gives additional auditing capabilities to the forms module. And now to see the one now, for example, so you see a new option here called display on the same row as the last field. So this is the option to have multiple fields in the same line. For example, now this is the first field. So instead of that, let me this is the first field. So let me edit this and say display and say save, say preview. Ideally, yeah. So see here now these two fields are in the same line. So that allows you to now configure multiple fields in the same line. And you could even before you could move the fields by dragging the fields up and down. So now you can rearrange the form, have multiple fields in the same line, etc., using this option. There is an option to edit the field. Let me just see. So you can also now edit the fields. Yeah, so here you see this is a drop down, a single select drop down. So now the editing obviously is limited based on the field. For example, you can't take a string field and change it to a number field, right? So it depends on which field you are editing or which field type you are editing. But you can change the field from, say, if it is a single select, now instead of being a drop down, you can also make it as a radio button. So it becomes a radio button here. So or if you think by mistake you initially thought you want to do a drop down, but there are too many fields and ad hoc values coming, you just want to revert it back to a text field, you can also do that. So there are limited editing options for the fields, but the limitation is based on the type of field and things like that. For example, if it is a date field, now you can't change it to a number field or things. So it all depends on what kind of field it is, and based on that you can do edits to the form. So those were some of the new features in 8.1. You can see the release notes on the wiki page. There are also many other things, especially I not covered the things that are in the plugins and things like that, because that's not something that everyone uses, but they're all documented on the wiki page. Along with that, there are many other bug fixes from the older versions, etc., that have been included. So you can review all of that in the wiki page. Now, the other thing that I wanted to do was, let me just stop there and see if anyone has any questions, or else I'll keep continuing. Okay, I'll take that as a no. So some of the older features that we wanted to just highlight is the first one is an user and announcement feature. So you can go here, and under more there is an option new announcement. So for example, if a new version is released to the you just upgraded to a new version, and you want to know, let everyone know that the system has been upgraded, these are the new features. Or if you want to let everyone know, if you're conducting a webinar internally or a training program, or such webinars, if you want to just let everyone know that Krishagni is conducting a webinar, or system is going to be down for upgrades, etc. So you can just create an have a subject line and a message and send. So if you don't select any user, it will go to all users for whom the email notification is enabled. And if you want, you can also do it, I think, only for, so the announcement is, yeah, so the announcement is not available for selected users. It is, yeah, it is for all active users who are who don't have email disabled. So one of the other things that we did recently was also ability to disable notifications. So if some user does not want emails to be sent to them, they can go into their profile, or the administrators can change it to disable notification no. So that way, rather disable notification yes. So that way, if someone is spammed with emails from OpenSpecimen and don't want to hear from the OpenSpecimen, not from us, your instance of OpenSpecimen, they can just disable notification here. The so yeah, so that's an announcement feature. One of the this was introduced in 8.0 is the user forms can be attached to user. So this is something that we saw that UCTV was using OpenSpecimen to also record user training data. But since it was not supported, the way they were doing is they just created a collection protocol, registered all their users as a participant, and then attached the training record with the participant and collecting the user training forms. So we thought, why not just provide it as a feature, so that because especially training forms, training records is something that for your compliance, CAP certification, etc., something that you would be keen to maintain. And instead of maintaining it in PDFs or Excel sheets or outside, you can just maintain it in OpenSpecimen. The system, when you do a deployment, it comes with the default form. You see here there is a form option. So when you click on this, you see the training form here. You can, and this is a multi-form, so you can collect as many times. For example, it can be an annual form, right? So you can go here and say, okay, what is the year of training completion, etc., etc. You can also include a signature field there, things like that. So you can, or attach files, as suppose there is a certificate that you issue that they need to upload it here, or a screenshot, etc. They can do such kinds of things. So this helps you to maintain the user training records in the system. And if you want to export, the forms, you can also do that. So you can suppose if you want to generate a report of all the users who have been trained, who have not been trained, etc., etc., you can export a CSV file, open it in Excel, and have a look at it. So this is again introduced in 8.0. So you see the homepage looks a bit different with these cards. So these cards are kind of a, you also see a button here called widgets. So the goal here is that, and this is displayed based on your role. So if you don't have access to order shipments, for example, if you're a clinic coordinator, you'll only see collection protocols and queries. So it all depends on what is your role. Since I am a super administrator, I see lots of options. And you can search. So again, the goal here is to save the number of clicks. So once you're here, this is what you see as soon as you log in. Suppose today you logged in to look at some container, you don't have to go here, click here, and then search here, or things like that. So you can just browse here and say, okay, where is my demo container, click on it, directly go to the container page. So and also one of the important feature here is, and if you want to go directly to the container page also, you don't have to then go to the menu. You can just click on this icon here and it directly goes to the container page. So it's kind of a dashboard. And the cool thing here is that you can configure this. So suppose if you don't want shipments, let me do this, and I want the queries to be displayed wider, so I'll say width is 4. So now you see that the page got rearranged. Now you don't see other widgets and you only see collection protocols. And since queries can have a longer title, it is I put it in a wider shell. So you have options until 6. For example, if I want to include, say, let me move this here, I can do drag and drop, and suppose this. So now you see that the distribution protocol came here, and I see the cards next to the queries because they're somehow linked to each other. So either I can do here or search on cards. The and also you see here there is an option to do starring. So star basically is your favorite protocol or your favorite this one, especially for administrators or in queries where you can have a lot of queries created, but there are some 3 or 4 queries which you use very regularly. So now starring the query, for example, when I am in the query interface, suppose I star this. Now when I go to the dashboard, you see that all the stars come at the top. So this makes it very easy to, the ones that you very frequently use will always be on the top. And suppose if you are done with that query, etc., you can also unstar it. It does not go away right now. It's only the next time, or when you refresh, it will go away from that list. But yeah, so that is again suppose you are working on some cards that you want to that you want to be your current project, and something that you whatever is your current project is something that you would go immediately when you come in, etc., something like frequently used. So this kind of a bookmarking mechanism for your favorite freezer, favorite card, favorite query, etc. So that's the dashboard feature. And I also covered the starring of the objects. Impersonate user is a very cool feature, something that many of you might already be using because it's a bit older feature. Now imagine you are you are internally supporting. This is specifically useful when suppose you are the lab admin or the central team which is managing OpenSpecimen for everyone. Now people call you and say, I'm facing this problem, I'm not able to see my container, or I'm not able to print the manifest, etc. Now you'll have to say things like, okay, either you'll have to say, can you give me your login password, which is obviously very bad. Or you'll have to say, okay, can we do a screen sharing? Can you show me on the this one, because in my account it is working, etc., etc. Now what Impersonate allows you to do is that you can say, okay, I will have a look at it, go in here, and you see, and this is only for the administrators, not everyone can impersonate as others. So you can click on Impersonate. What it also does is that whenever you impersonate as someone else, it sends an email to them saying this person is impersonating as you, just as a safety measure, and people are aware that that something like this has happened. This is something, this pop-up that you see is introduced in 8.1, whereas the impersonate feature itself was available before, but we added this additional security into the feature where whenever you impersonate, even though you are the super admin, the others have, there's an email record of that you were impersonating them as for that long, and it also sends an email, I think, when you sign out. So now when I impersonate as that user, now even though I am the super admin, now I see the whole system as that user. And you see here that it is now showing that you are now viewing this person's account. Whenever you are done, you can return back to that account. So now you can go and look at the whole system will work as if that it is that person. So now you can debug or figure out what issue they were facing, why were they not able to see a particular cart, or why were they not able to see a particular container, etc. Now once you are done, you can click on return back to your account, and it will take back to your original account. So that way, basically, you are it makes it very easy for you to support other people. I think that is it from my side. I'll be happy to take any questions or any other feature related questions that you had. Let me just check if there is anything on the chat. This is really helpful. Enhancement to forms. Yeah. So thanks. Any question? Anyone wants to unmute and ask a question? If not, it can also be about anything else in OpenSpecimen. If not, this is all I had. And as far as the release is concerned, the release notes is concerned, it's in the usual place in the wiki page. You can go to 8.x. Under 8.x, you can click here and see the release notes. And if you are if you're interested in upgrading your test server, the demo server is already on 8.1. You can also try out these features there, and if you are interested in upgrading your test server, you can log a ticket for that.
Shri, I have a question.
Sure.
All right. On the training form, how were those date fields added as that second column?
Oh, let me show you. So that's the new feature of multiple. I don't think I'm sharing my screen, right? Okay, I assume you can see my screen again.
I can now.
Yeah, so now let me go to that form. So let me check. Yeah, user training form. So now you see here that now this has
display on
displayed
the same row.
on the same row as the last field.
Okay. And that particular feature is an 8.1 feature, right?
Yes.
The display.
Yes.
Okay, because I was trying to modify it in 8.0 and I wasn't able to. Okay, that makes sense.
So let me, as I said, so let me make one correction to this slide, not this slide here, and say Emery and me.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, because I didn't need that. All right. Thank you.
Bree, related to that question, is there a way to set up alerts to the user that your training is about to expire in X amount of time?
Oh, wow. No, not yet.
Sorry.
That's a good point. But
Future.
not, yeah, not yet. Anything else, anyone? Okay, so if that is it, thanks everyone. We will post the video if you want to share it within your internal team, etc. And once the URL is ready, I'll be sharing the URL with you all. Look forward to seeing you in the next webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Okay, thanks a lot.